Good, beautiful, beautiful day, you beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. So grateful that you would take the time to listen to my show and to see what we've got going here, because we're always going to be encouraging. And we're on winwinwomen.com, winwinwomen.tv. Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, all those streaming services, and soon to be on Poditize with the podcast of the show. And I'm so excited about that. It will all be out. All of this is coming together this year, and today is already May 31st, 2023. How did that happen? And I'm excited, so excited, so excited to invite you or to introduce you to my guest today, my sweet, sweet lady, Miss Callie Hearne. And we're gonna talk about unyielding strength and Callie's journey to achieve excellence. We're gonna learn a lot more about her, but first, as you know, I do a breathing exercise in the beginning. It's mostly for me, but I hope it helps you. It's a 22-second mini vacation, mini meditation, and we're going to breathe in 7 seconds of calm. We're going to hold for 4 seconds and breathe out 11 seconds of gratitude. And I can't wait for you to just try it if you've not done it before. It's centering, and you do it multiple times a day if you need to. So let's breathe in calm for 7 seconds. Hold. Breathe out gratitude, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Centering, grounding, settling, and I'm grateful that you joined me with that. If you hang on to the end, Callie Hearne and I are going to be having a conversation about overcoming in our lives and how we can encourage you and offer hope to anyone and everyone. And if you hang on to the end of our 30 minutes or 40 minutes, we will open it up and you can ask live questions along the way, put comments or questions in the chat. We'll get to those towards the end. But first, I'm going to introduce you to Callie Hearne. I have a story about her, a few, but I'm going to say what she said. She said, "I'm living proof that change is possible, that hope can prevail, and that determination can break even the strongest chains that bind us. Our collective action can transform societies, and our individual resolve can inspire those around us. Never let your spirit be broken, and always remember that the future is led by the brave, the resilient, and the selfless." I love, love, love that about you, Callie. I know that about you. And I know that you are the wife of a very famous name, but Friday Night Lights is very famous. Coach Nathanial Hearne, your husband, has got his own book, Friday Night Lights, and it is an incredible story, incredible stories of overcoming, and encourage you to get that. You chose to do that. You're kind of the wind beneath his wings, and that's what I'm getting to right now. You are the wind beneath his wings because he's kind of on the stages. And I'll say this one more thing: we're going to talk not as much about him, but more about you. And but he was on a stage the first time I met you guys at Ziglar, where Ziglar Legacy certified trainers, coaches, and all that. And he spoke in a room full of Ziglars. And he was told that that was the most inspirational talk they had ever heard, which is incredible when you're in a room full of, Ziglar folks, because Zig Ziglar was the master. Anyway, I agree. I've heard him many times now, and I don't think he'd be where he is if it wasn't for you. You're lovely. You're so beautiful, and you're so sweet, and your compassion is unmatched. So let's meet you, Callie. Tell us a little about you, who you are, and what you got going in this world, and where you been, where you headed.
Okay, so actually, Coach Hearne, Dr. Hearne, Friday Night Lights, Dr. Hearne, Coach Hearne is really part of my story. And I do feel, Charla, that we came together, that Coach Hearne and I came together, and it was divinely for that reason. Um, because we both are in such agreement that we're placed here on this earth for a reason. We all have a purpose. Um, and of course, it takes more than an individual to achieve that purpose by himself or herself. Um, so we look at ourselves as a team. He's so totally gifted as an inspirational speaker. He has a gift. He has a gift to tell, he can tell a story. Well, and I'm speaking to the choir here because, as you said, when he spoke at the Ziglar conference, everyone was just simply so moved and drawn into his story. That's his gift.
Masterful.
Yes. And, that gift is inside of him, and he knows that he has to get it out. That is part of his purpose. Part of my purpose is to help him to get that gift out. And I feel so inspired every time I'm there to hear him and just to be a part of what happens in the room, to be in the room where it happens. A little side note here, we make this dream list. I think all of us, some of us say we have a bucket list. But we call it a dream list. His dream list was to go to New York City, to Yankee Stadium, and to see the Yankees play. My dream was to go to Broadway and see Hamilton. So about a month or so ago, we were able to check that off of our dream list. So to be in the room.
Super. That's amazing.
So that's a little side note there. But okay, so about me, I feel that what is so important in life is for us to know who we are. As I coach and as I work with, and I love working with women, but I see that so many of us have not been able to really hone in on our identity. We keep searching for our identity. Well, wearing designer clothes. There's nothing wrong with people who wear designer clothes or any of that, but that's those persons' identity. So what is our identity? So you asked me that question, and it's kind of a long answer that I'm going to give you because it goes back to when I was created. um, so my identity really started when I was born. I was named after my two grandmothers. My maternal grandmother's name was Callie, and my paternal grandmother's name was Susie. So I was named Callie Sue. Okay, so that was a lot in that naming. Now, but I even want to go back further than that, Charla, because my identity is wrapped up in my childhood, my background, my parents, my ancestry. All of that dictated who I am today. It was like my structure. That was the structure that was in place. And to tell you how much that means to me to be able to share this with you and to your audience. And by the way, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I appreciate that. I want to go back to my grandfather. His name was Prince Albert Williams.
Wow. Regal.
My grandfather was born into slavery. President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation when my grandfather was 8 years old. So for the first 8 years of his life, he was a slave. He was a child, he was a slave. But from that background, he endured a lot of obstacles in his life, but he didn't allow that stigma of being in slavery to hold him back. He had that vision, and this is what I want you to see, and what I'd like for others to see is that my family legacy, I can't go back any further than my grandfather, but I know that it started with my grandfather because he became a well-respected man in our community, in his community. Um, he started out, one of his jobs was a railroad foreman on the Cotton Belt Railroad. And then he was one of the first Blacks to be a conductor on the Cotton Belt Railroad. So we're talking about identity, who I am. Prince Albert Williams is a big part of who I am. But from there, he had one of his children, my father, A.C. Williams. He also had a vision. And so he took that on from my grandfather. His thing was he felt that education was so important because there were so many in that community where he grew up that were not educated. They were farmers, they worked the fields, but my dad knew that an education was the way to get out of that. So that was his goal. He went to college, graduated from college, got his master's degree. He became an educator in that community. But one of the other side notes with my dad, and this is what I feel is so instilled in us, in his children. He was in World War II, and he was commissioned or appointed to be part of the Red Ball Express in World War II. And I don't know if you know what that is, but during the war, there was a time when, and this was like in 1944, General Patton could not, he had trouble, they were at a certain point, in the campaign. And so he had all his troops there, but they couldn't get supplies, they couldn't get food, they couldn't get anything. So this group of Black soldiers were named the Red Ball Express, and this was in France. And they drove those trucks, and you'll have to read the story. It's fascinating when you go back and read about it. But they went through all kind of obstacles to get.
Imagine that.
Yeah, to get the supplies, to the troops. So that was part of my dad. That was my dad who was and he took great pride in the fact, and I can remember growing his stories. He was a great storyteller, and I can remember him telling stories about being in World War II. And he would just light up when he told those stories because he knew that his life made a difference with those soldiers that he took care of there. From there, he was an educator, as I said. He was very instrumental in growing that small community that I grew up in, very well respected.
Can I ask, is that in what state or what community?
Oh, it's here in Texas.
Oh, in Texas, okay.
And the community that I grew up in is Commerce, Texas, which is about maybe, well, I'm in Arlington now, so maybe it's about 70 miles, from here. It's in Northeast Texas. But he had the characteristics of, he became an educator. He had a knack for coaching. So my father was actually an athletic coach. He was actually, when I was in high school, he coached me basketball. And I just loved, I just loved, and he taught me history. And I just loved being in his class. I just loved what he did. And so, Charla, it was my goal early on to become a teacher, just like my dad. I admired him so, and I wanted to be just like my dad. Now, you and I talked a little bit beforehand about the name. So
exactly. I was like, is your name, is it a a nickname, or was it a birth name? And Callie Sue. And then I said, well, my middle name is Sue. I'm Charla
Yes,
Sue. We both have a little bit distinctive
yes,
names and
yes,
distinctive
yes.
reasons.
And
And
so,
they mean something.
and they mean something. And I didn't really understand the true meaning of my name when I was growing up, because I had friends with names like Carolyn and Patricia and Irma, and I thought, I wished I had a pretty name. I don't like my name. It is so different from everybody else's
I
name.
didn't like mine either. It's so funny.
So I developed an appreciation. I really developed an appreciation for the name Callie. I was a freshman in college, and at the time, there's a university in Commerce. It's the Texas A&M University of Commerce now, but it was at the time East Texas State University, and that's the school that I went to. So I can remember as this little freshman sitting in this economics class, and they had just recently, actually that year or the year before, they had integrated the college. So, there was some fear there, and just being, thinking of myself as being different and really not knowing, because all of my schooling, elementary, high school, it was in a segregated school setting. So this was the first time I was actually in an integrated setting, and it was some fear there. So I was sitting in class, and my professor, Dr. Dories, I will never forget his name, as he was calling the roll, when he got to my name, he looked up and he said, Callie, he said, will you come to my office after class today? And I'm thinking, what in the world have I done wrong? He wants me to come to his office after class. So anyway, when I went to his office, he told me, he said, I have a question for you. He said, would you happen to have a grandmother or someone in your name, in your family with the name Callie? And I said, oh yeah, my grandmother's name is Callie. I was named after her. He said, I just have to tell you, she really saved my life when I was in college. He said, I was a undergraduate student here at East Texas State, and my grandmother was a great cook. She was a pastry chef. And so she worked in the cafeteria there at that university. And so he was a student, I guess, who may have been on work study or something of that nature. And so he said, do you know, she made sure that I ate every morning. That she would, after we had served the line and all that, she'd come over, she said, she'd ask me, have you had breakfast? And so she'd always bring breakfast over. She'd always sit and talk, and we'd have this great conversation. And he said, she just really made me feel so good. And he said, I'd like for you to just tell her how much I appreciated what she did for me. And I'm so thankful for her. And he gave me, I think it was like $50. And he said, this is not paying her for anything, but it's just like a gift just to let her know how much I appreciate her. So anyway, I'm starting to think, oh wow, now this is interesting. So that's a name. My name plus the Williams part of my name is my legacy. And I feel like everything that my parents, my grandparents wanted in life, they taught that to us as their children. And as my topic says, it was about perseverance. It was not about looking at obstacles. It was all about, so what's your vision? What's your dream? What are you going to do? It was always about education. And then how do you get there? So I
And
never.
how do you, and you, something you said, ensuring that you excelled in the face of adversity, your parents were committed to that. And so it can't have been easy in your situation or circumstance. I think very few people have it easy regardless, but some are much harder than others. And so when you have a complete family support, when you have a drive, an intention, they had an intention that you have, you're an overcomer, and that you do what needs to be done. And it seems to have obviously paid off. So you've been an educator ever since. In fact, an award-winning educator, if I'm not mistaken, and an administrator and a counselor. Now you're a coach and a supporter of a great husband, and he's a supporter of a great wife, and you guys are such a beautiful team together. I'm going to insert this one little story, because when I did meet you guys, I inherited 2 step grandkids kind of unexpectedly. Their mom had died in a fire, and they showed up in our lives. And after I heard Nate talk and his inspiration, I asked you guys if y'all would meet with them. And so we had lunch. I think been 2 summers in a row now. We had lunch with those 2, and you guys you're so compassionate, and you're so giving, and you're so generous, and you're so kind. And they really appreciated that. And I certainly do. It's a huge thing. So to me, that's evidence of who you guys are in your legacy. I mean, so he's celebrity status now, Mr. Coach Hearne, in a way, right? So, when really good people reach and they reach down and lift up, beautiful story. And we appreciate it so very much.
Well, thank you for that. And your grandchildren were just a joy. We love that time with them. But that brings me into the second thing that I would love to share, and that is how important it is to identify our why, our purpose. Why are we here? Why are we placed on earth? Why do we exist? All of this.
And our name and we started with that because our name does mean something, and sometimes we don't find the identity. People search all their lives and don't see it, and that's who you are.
And that's who I am, and it's important to embrace that. And as I hope from my story that you and your audience will understand, there's no bitterness there. We were not raised in a home where my parents were bitter about our situation, because it's about being who you are, embracing that, being proud of who you are. I mean, I'm very proud of who I am, proud of how I grew up, wanting my children, my grandchildren, to know that part of my history. They need to know that part of my history. And so if you fast forward all these many years, to kind of just put a little cap on the story, my dad was so well respected in that community that when he retired after 44 years as an educator, as an administrator in commerce. But there is a school that they have named after him, an elementary school in Commerce, Texas, A.C. Williams Elementary School. But that was because he was able to build bridges. He worked with people in such a different way, where he was able to always get what was needed, even in a time when maybe that wasn't what the majority of the people wanted. But he knew what he needed for that community to grow. And so he was able to do that. So it's not about guilt. It's not about, feeling that we were, not treated fairly. Of course, all of that was there. There was a I mean, life is life. It's reality.
Life just keeps lifing, and you only place you have to live it from is where you are right this
Where you
second.
are right
Where
now.
you are this second, and you can't change last second, last week, last generation, or you can't change one breath that you've taken already. You can only change the next one. So yeah, so when we can, when if that message could just get out there to get over being so upset about everything and triggered by everything and all that, because this is your life. If you don't love where you are, you don't have any other place to be right this second.
Well, and you have to move forward, and all of it has to be with, first of all, knowing who you are, and then knowing whose you are. Now, I did talk about my family, but I was created by God. God created all of us, and God didn't make differences in that way where there's one group can have all these advantages where another group cannot. Circumstances.
That was man-made.
That was man, but we have to be strong, persevere. That was one of the big words in my family. Don't put off today. Don't put off for tomorrow what you can do today. It was about bringing out the best. And
work ethic.
Work ethic was, it was totally about work ethic. We worked hard. We knew there was a fact that we had to be so much better than everyone else because there was our skin color that it was a lot about judgment. So you were judged initially on skin color in a lot of situations, but you had to be so much better where people started thinking, oh, you would be a perfect fit for this position, or I really like working with you. So, we just never got bogged down in that. It was
good all for about, you. What a blessing.
It was about opportunities.
And you became a superintendent of a human resources department and did some unique strategies. Now, I don't know if you wanted to jump to that or not, but it's something that I caught, that you truly are an award-winning, you served a school district for many years in a very big capacity and made changes that are probably still implemented today.
Well, and that is part of my story now as well, because one of the things that I did want to say is I was the assistant superintendent of human resources of Hershey Bedford ISD. First time an African American ever held a position such as that in that school district. So it was incumbent upon me to utilize the strengths of my team. One person cannot do it by themselves. We used what was called the Clifton strengths. Everybody in our district, all the administrators were trained with that assessment.
Say that again. I didn't catch
the Clifton strength.
Clifton strength. Okay.
It's a Gallup assessment. It's
Strength Finders thing. Yeah, they're good.
The Strengths Finder, and they've renamed it to Clifton Strengths. So during that time that I was assistant superintendent, that's how we planned. We'd have our meetings. I was part of the superintendent's cabinet. We'd use that in my role as part of the superintendent's cabinet, but I used it so much with my team, my HR team, because we have different projects. We knew our strengths. And so I knew who could do what. And so it wasn't, me telling everyone what to do. We get in there, we problem solve. And then from that, we would implement processes and get the job done, get the work done. And we loved it. And we were a family. As a matter of fact, they call me over now, do a lot of work with them now in different capacities, because the assistant superintendent of human resources now was a lady that I hired. And I hired her because of her talents. She was just outstanding. She was outstanding. So it's about being able to identify talent, putting
And
all talent.
lift them up,
Oh,
win-win.
and it was a win-win. My number one strength is maximizer. And so with that, I I can identify the talent. It's really easy for me to identify talent in other people. And then once they know what the task is, they can do it based on their talent. And I'm not there overseeing them step by step. I have complete confidence that the job is going to get done, and it's going to get done the way that I would want it done because they got to know me really well.
Well, and you give them that confidence, then they want to do their best. And,
Yes,
it's such a win-win
yes,
situation when
yes,
you trust,
yes,
you give someone the trust and confidence, and unless they prove you wrong, intentional, really prove you wrong, they're probably open to guidance. I think it's a beautiful example of what you were able to accomplish. And Nate, Dr. Coach Nate, I don't know what to call him anymore. He's got so many great titles. You're now doing coaching, and
yes.
there's a certification you have, a coaching core
For clarity,
clarity certification, and they'll move that into the
it's a perfect segue, Charla, from what I did as Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Nate actually first went through the core clarity process. The founder of that is Candace Fitzpatrick. And so what she discovered was there was a relationship among those strengths that Gallup hadn't really put together in that way. So she put together the core clarity process. It was just so revealing because it's a process that so many people can actually, it's a very usable way to understand your talents and your strengths. So we take the strengths from the Clifton strengths, we put those into the core clarity framework, and then we come up with the core clarity profile. So that's what we use in our coaching, because we see that the way that it's done in core clarity, it makes those talents more relatable. So in that, and that's part of the coaching that we do. It's called personal discovery. We do seminars where we train teams and companies with that. And we also do individual and group coaching with it. So in that, they identify their top 5 strengths from Gallup. We take those top 5, we put them into this framework, which shows how some of those talents are external talents, and they're talents you use with other people. Some are internal talents, talents that you use within yourself. And then we look at the 4 quadrants. It's just really so significant how that process goes. And then once they go through the process with us, where they understand their top 5 talents, then we take them through a process of helping them to identify their passion. And then from identifying their passion, we help them to identify their purpose. And it just kind of, almost a seamless process. And so many who go through this, they are just amazed that, oh, so this is why I do things this way. Oh, that's not a bad thing, because your talents are what's inside of you, and they're not bad. None of them are bad. It's learning how to use those so they work for you and not against you. And then we see those talents. Okay, so it's nothing that you had to do to get these talents. You were born with these talents. And now that you know what your talents are, they're not for you to keep inside of you. They're for you to use with other people. And so that's when we start talking about passion. And We talk about people, there are, just different kinds of passion, like a general passion. You may see something and you may feel a little passionate about it, but, you may say, oh, I'm not going to do anything about that. I really hope somebody else gets out there and does something about it. And then there's your personal passion.
So give us an example of one of your success stories through all that. You probably have many, many, but somebody that comes to mind that I can relate to this journey from passion. I finally said your passion is how you treat the person in front of you. If you don't have any other passion, that's the bottom line passion that everybody can
Mhm.
have. Just treat each other with kindness and respect. And I'd love to hear a story or an example of what you're talking about, a brief one. Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a little brief, because we do coach quite a number of people with that. And I'll just talk about one recent young lady that we're coaching who is a college student. And we took her through the process. A single mom. She loves, she wants to be an event planner. And so, she's going through all this, and she's having some difficulties trying to put it all together. And then as we go through the process of helping her to identify what she's passionate about, she can put it in writing that what she wants to do is to help single moms look at resources that will help them to raise their child in an effective way. And
Wow.
so she was able to put that in writing at the end of the process that we took her through.
Clarifying to the core of your, oh my goodness, that sounds
Bring it-
awesome. So
bring it
if how does she find you? How do we find you? And what is your best contact, and what is your best call to action? What do you want people to know about all this?
Yeah. Okay. So the way you find me, just go to our website, actually drnatehearne.com. All of our services are there. If you put CallieHearne.com, it'll take you directly to my page. But then you can access all the other pages from that page. So we have everything listed there. You can find us there. So my call to action, and so I think I can't believe I got all this way and didn't tell you what my purpose is.
Well, we're gonna know it. I'm gonna let me just spell this for people on the podcast or whatever later that don't. It's CALLIE, Callie, HEARNE, Hearne.com,
Yes.
and Dr. Nate Hearne.com.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
HEARNE. So
Yes.
spelling
So
it sometimes helps.
either of those will work. So my passion, I went through the process, and so my purpose actually. So I feel that I exist to maximize purpose in myself and others, so that hope and inner peace abounds through the power of the Holy Spirit. That's my purpose. That's my genuine purpose.
That's your core.
That's my core, and I have to do this. And your genuine purpose is something that you have to do before you die, and you're held accountable to that. I will be held accountable to that, to whether or not I have lived out my purpose. And so that's why I exist, and that's why we do what we do. I would do it for free if I didn't need, if I didn't have to charge for it, because your purpose is something that you would do for free. It's what
Well,
you
and I'm sure you do it for free in
Oh,
yeah. So there,
oh, we do.
you don't, you can't not do it.
Oh,
You can't not do it. You can't not do it. And so when I feel like that's a piece of it, once you really get a little more clarity on who you are and who you are in this world, and why you're moving in this this realm right now, you got it. You've got to do it. And so, yeah, so I'm sure you never stop doing it.
You never, you never retire. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, and so with me, that's what I want women to understand. You have a purpose in life. It's just finding out what it is, what gets you up, and then you won't be thinking about all the aches and pains and all this, so that you have a reason to get up. You have a life. You're out there helping other people, so you can't stay in bed. You have to get up.
When you get outward focused rather than inward focused, I think that so many people are just focused right on what's wrong instead of what's possible. And I think that's what you're doing, is guiding people to find what's possible. And then when you've watched it, and I'm sure every time somebody gets it, all of a sudden they get flushed, they feel it to their core. They don't have to write it down right then. They know it in their knower. And when you can give that gift to, or facilitate, I suppose, that gift in someone, it's got to be the best feeling in the entire world.
It is. And I just have to share with you, and I'm not sure how much time we have left, but
and I don't know if we have guests here or not, so we can just keep talking. I'll kind of see if we do.
Okay. We have we have such a burden on our heart to help young people. The young people are our future, and they're getting inundated with social media, all the
mixed messages.
Yes.
And maybe some with agendas that aren't serving us, the children or the people. There's
and so
it's hard to see right now. It's hard to watch.
Well, they feel they can't live up to it. The images that young people see on social media, they feel like they can't live up to and it's all about celebrities and real life and all. So
influencers, everybody wants to be an influencer, but not everybody can be an influencer, and there are a lot of negative influencers out there. Sorry.
No. Well, and so we have such a burden that since we are educators, my husband does a program called How Do You Make Your Dreams Come True? And we just finished one of those with a group of middle school students. And it was so amazing to see the light bulb go off in their eyes when they started thinking about their dreams.
And they do have a choice. See, I think a lot of them don't, they're just on this reactive path instead of a proactive path.
Yeah. And but we have to, we have to get them to thinking in that way. Yeah. Your life, you may have grown up this way. And my husband's story, his is so different from mine growing up.
So poor.
Yes, and he tells
with integrity, though. I mean, he still had.
And those students can identify, and they think, oh, this is someone who grew up the way that I did, and he's not perpetrating. Where they think a lot of times adults are just perpetrating, but they see him, they hear his story, we work with them. And they
feel his compassion.
They do.
You cannot walk in your presence or his presence and not feel the depth of compassion that you have for each person.
So my call to action to all of you who are watching and viewing this is that you do have a purpose. You have a purpose. Your birth was a purpose. And it's incumbent upon you to find out what that purpose is, because you may be the only one that can save someone in the way that you can do it.
Like your grandmother did that professor.
Exactly.
Seriously.
It is about what can you do individually, and then collectively you start making a difference, Charla. We don't have to grow up with all this. We don't have, our world does not have to be negative the way that it is.
We don't have, drama is a choice too. We
It's a
don't have
choice.
to just embrace the drama all the time. You might turn off that box in the room, that big old screen on the wall. Just turn that off for a while.
Yes. But
And discover
Mhm.
that you have your own original thoughts,
You do.
right?
Mm.
And that,
So that's my call to action. If nothing else results from us having our conversation today, for someone's thought process to just be sparked, to understand I am here for a reason. And I need to find out what that reason is.
yes, your coaching program is called Made Up Minds. Is that
It's called Made Up Minds.
okay?
Yeah.
So that imagine a world where everyone's voice matters, a world where your character, your ideas, and your talent are the only measures of your worth. We must be each other's strength, and we must create opportunities for those who are too often left behind. There's nobody unworthy. I do have a saying, the harder people are to love, the more they need it, honestly, but that doesn't mean they're unworthy. And we want to love them where they are and love them through this. They don't love them. Bullies even, they don't love themselves. That's what I tell my kids, right? Grandkids, they don't love themselves enough.
Yes.
To be able to treat people well.
Yes.
And so bullies are victims too. I'm not supporting that at all, but it's a perspective that perhaps you can learn to have a little bit of a compassion for the people that are harder to love.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
That makes a lot. It's who I am. It makes a lot of sense.
And so we're going to go back, CallieHearne.com, Dr. Nate Hearne.com. And I'm going to ask you a question that Ziglar asked me multiple times and asked everybody he ever met. Have you written your book yet?
Well, and I have not. So the short answer is no. And this conversation today and just really thinking about it, you really sparked, because I'm on that's on my list to do. But I started getting my thoughts together and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I need to get started on this. So you've helped in the process. So when it does come out, I need to recognize the fact that you helped in the process.
Oh, that's sweet. We're only doing all we know to do in any given moment. And those of us, I like to surround my people with people like my people, my life with people like you that are, how can we make a difference? And I know that there's a what's in it for me. I think Zig even said everybody's carrying a sign, what's in it for me. I don't seem to have that. I'm always like, how can I make a difference for you? My mama said, leave the world a better place.
Yes.
I think she did by her actions and by her children, right? So if leave the world a better place, leave things better than you found them. Think about the next person that when you leave your trash on a table, leave your, on an airplane. Oh my gosh, I was a flight attendant, right? So we go down the aisle with bags, but we walk off and the plane is filthy. Why would you do that? Just make the world a better place. If you wipe the sink, these are tiny little things just to make you think about somebody, a human being somewhere on this world has to clean up after you if you leave a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Hotel rooms, I always try to just keep things nicer for the next person. And I'm not so certain that that's being taught well out in our world right now. It's like somebody, who cares? Somebody else will pick up my litter or my trash or wipe my tables.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
don't know why I got off on all that with this, because you've got such a great, we've got such a great story going, but I believe it. That's who you are. You leave the world a better place. Love the
The better.
person in front of you. If you love the person right in front of you, just no matter
Mm,
what, being kind, give a smile, buy a candy bar, do
yes.
something
Yes.
that lifts them up and leaves them. I have something I've said recently. I was like, when I walk into somewhere, I want my light to shine so brightly, not my light, the light shines
Be
so
like, yes.
brightly that they feel
Yes.
compelled, they feel touched, and they feel left uplifted.
That's what it's all about, Charla.
And we've connected because of that's who you are. I know for a fact, you and what a I don't know what's next. So what's next with you guys? Are you just building the coaching business? You're going to write a book. What else is going on with you? So where
Well,
will you be on stages? Y'all are doing events now, right?
yeah,
Didn't you
we
recently do
just
an event?
we just recently finished up with an event, our first one here in Arlington. It was a destination event. Of course, it revolves around coaching, AT&T Stadium. Some of the players from Friday Night Lights that my husband coached came as guests. And so those who came were able to interact and ask questions. It was very successful. Great speakers. Um, from
AT&T Stadium is not a small first event.
well, but the event is okay now. AT&T Stadium. Part of the event was actually at a hotel, a smaller, because we had maybe 100 people in attendance. But the day prior to the actual summit, we had what we called a VIP tour
Mm.
of AT&T Stadium. So that's where we had went on a personal VIP tour, and then had a wonderful buffet at the Stadium Club, because these are people from all over the country, and they never, had the opportunity to see AT&T Stadium. So that was great. What we have now, starting on Monday, actually, my husband is starting an online mentoring program, a 12-week mentoring program online. So,
Who's the audience? Who's the target for that?
well, the target is anyone who is interested in mentoring and building their legacy. It's and I put that on. It's on Facebook. If they go to either
Is it
my,
adult? I mean, so adults?
it would be it's not geared toward young, like children or anything like that. No, this is for business owners, business leaders, anyone who is at a point where they feel they want to make a difference, but they need to have the skills. They need to have the coaching skills, the mentoring skills. So he's put together a 12-week online mentoring program that he's going to take them through. It's based on his book, Friday Night Lights, The Untold Stories Behind the Lights. So it's based on that book. And so he has this curriculum, this online uh, mentoring that he's doing.
Is there limited number?
Not at this time. We're still able to enroll new. As a matter of fact, Monday,
Say the date. So today is Monday, May 31st, and you're talking about
okay,
Monday,
we're talking about
June
June 5th
5th, I
at
think
9 o'clock. But they could go to our website and it's some information on it, or they can actually go to Friday Night Lights, Untold Stories Behind the Lights, the Facebook page. And so it actually has the information on that.
Is it primarily for men or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. There are some women who are enrolled in it. So men and women.
Wow, that would be a true gift. When you say 9, you're talking about 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
in
Central.
Central
And I
Time.
meant to
Yeah.
say Central because we have people from all over the country enrolled in it. And so
I've gotten very, very focused on whenever I put 1 p.m. it's Central Time, because
yeah,
when Women is out in Pacific Time, and a lot of their times are over there,
okay.
and you've got
Okay.
to we're all over we're global, right? So we got
Yes.
to be
Yes.
specific on
Yes.
some of that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But that's a new venture that's coming up on Monday.
Well, I'm thrilled about that. As first I've heard, and I can't imagine being mentored by anybody better than Coach Hearne and Callie Hearne, for sure.
Well, thank you for that, Charla. Thank you.
You guys are amazing, and you know, your presence is just calming. It's just, there's no nervousness, there's no it's just calming. And I believe when you walk in a place that it has that effect as well. There's just no drama, no anything artificial. It's all authentic, and that you just can't get better than that. So is there any last word you want to leave us with? Because we got to cut it out in just a couple minutes.
Oh, well, it's been fun. I hope those who view this had as much fun as I did, because I can talk about my purpose forever. I love to do that. So thank you for your time, Charla, and thank your audience for their time.
And I'm grateful too. I know that you're the wind beneath the wings. You are you're the one that you guys work together, but he's the one that shows on stage. So I'm grateful that we could have included him, and I'm grateful that he gets to watch his wife shine on the stage like this for a change. And you've got the gift as well. So I'm sure there are people out there would love to have you on their stages as well. You would do a public speaking, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Well, I'm going to say thank you so much. I'm going to, my show doesn't have any advertising. I don't really want anybody paying advertisement, but I want to toss out a couple of things just in the last couple minutes here that a sponsorship is a different thing in my estimation. WinWinWomen.com is a global platform, the first interactive women's platform is global. It's a great platform for anyone who would like to have a TV show. Poditize, my little is going to be my podcast. Amazing people. I would love mention my name is all, or go to my website and find the banner that has some of those favorite. These are a few of my favorite things. That's how I call it. I love a product I used since 2011, a company that's based in Irving, Texas, Zeal Wellness. Zeal, it's just a nutrition with superfood nutrition, but it's Zervita is the company. That word means the risen life in Latin. We've got a brain memory coffee thing too. So it's just one of my, when you're with a company for 15 years, it's because of the integrity. I am there because of the integrity of the leadership, and then the excellence of uncompromising of products. So then my website, Course Platform Academy, is they helped me build my website, and George is the big live support every week, all kinds of stuff. And I now own my own website and don't have to worry about that. That's a huge piece to me. And then beyond publishing, I'm getting my book republished. All of my books are going to be relaunched. This one is going to be Candy Bar Hugs, relaunched in the next month into bestseller status. I wrote it 5 years ago and self-published it. We're going to launch it out in a bigger way. And then the other 2 books are coming out this year. So beyond publishing, Michael Butler. Those are just a few of my favorite things that are really making a difference in my world right now. So it's time. I have a hard close at 2:00. So I will always thank you so much, Callie. I'm grateful for you. And as I always end, choose joy.
Thank you, Charla. Bye-bye.
Blessings.